Hey everybody, I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Look who's here. It's Max Greenfield, guy from the neighborhood. What's up, man?
How you doing, man? It's good to be here.
Good to have you in New York. Welcome back.
Yeah, please.
This is where you started it all, right?
I did. I grew up out here. I don't know what started anything.
It's where life began for me.
Yeah, that's where it began for sure. Yeah, I grew up in Dobbs Ferry, which is in Westchester. My dad worked in the city, so I was down here a lot. Actually, at one point at CBS.
Really?
Yeah, on the music side.
Okay.
And yeah, this is where I grew up.
But now you're an LA guy.
Now I'm an LA guy.
So what was that transition like for you?
Well, I moved out to LA. I did a year of college, and then my dad, who was in the record industry, had gotten a job at Warner Brothers Records out in LA. So I did the year in college at University of Wisconsin, and then moved out to LA after the year.
So you were just one and done. You're like, I'm ready to just jump into the industry.
It wasn't really by choice.
I
don't know if they would have had me back.
You're like, Max, sorry, grades are
I
not
think
exactly
everybody looks at the grades and they were like, I don't think it's working out so well.
Was it a full year or was it just a semester?
It was a full year.
It was a full year.
Probably should have been just a semester, but we were like, maybe that was a fluke. And it wasn't, for sure. It did not go well for me there, but you know, I think it was a good learning experience for me.
So now I'm thinking, when you did Greek for a little while, you probably had to relive some of those college days.
Yeah, I mean, if I remembered the college days,
yeah,
maybe.
I got that.
You know, as an actor, you're like trying to like remember. I was like, I don't remember anything.
You're just trying to get through at that point.
Yeah, God, it was an eye opener.
So from that point to where you're at now, obviously a ton of things have happened in your life. What's it been like building out your career after just throwing yourself right into the industry?
Oh my God, I mean, it's been a while now. Well, I mean, just so much stuff. So many things happen. So many things factor into all of it. I mean, you know, building a family has been a lot more important than the career.
Right, that's the most important thing.
The two things go so much hand in hand, and a lot of the decisions you make in the career are based on what's going on with your family. Most specifically, the ages of your kids. And you know, my wife Tess has a full career of her own, which I'm very proud of, and so is she. And so that factors into everything. So it really is just like, I think the goal is to really, or always has been, to create some sort of balance that works best for me as a human being. Just like, okay, family, career, figuring both out.
So I'm sure this is lined up pretty nicely in terms of having a steady job.
This is really, this show has been, this is the dream job. Especially because, you know, this type of show, which is filmed in front of a live studio audience, which to me is the greatest, and the type of show I've always wanted really to do. But it also happens to be extremely conducive to having a family, because you just rehearse all week, and then there's 2 days of shooting. One of them is during the day, which we usually do on Monday, and then Tuesday we have our tape night, which is, you know, like 5 to 9. And my daughter now, who's 10, she comes to most of the tapings.
That's awesome.
It's so much fun.
So what does she think about Dad as an actor?
She was like, you know, she was 1 when I got New Girl. So towards the end, she started going, what is this show? And most of it, we were like, don't watch it.
Right. Yeah, you probably have to get a little bit older before you check that out, right?
You're not quite there yet. And I think I've tried to show her some of it, like a little bit, and she's like, I don't really get this. Daddy, you're weird.
You're like, thanks, appreciate
Dad,
it.
what were you doing on this? But this one's just so, plus, you know, the different styles of shooting it. New Girl was a single camera, and now where it's just like, you know, it takes a long time to shoot those, because there's different setups, and we're waiting, and we were on stage and then on location, and there was just like a lot. It was time conducive. And this one, it's like going to a live show every week. So she'll come at night, and it's a lot of fun, and the energy's really high, and Cedric gets like the audience going, and so she has a lot of fun on this one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good time.
We've had Cedric here a couple times, and he's just an incredible dude.
The best, man.
And you get to hang out with him. So what have you learned from him? Because like, you've been around all these people in your career. What sticks out about Cedric?
Well, what's really interesting about the show is, well, one, he's so involved in the show. on the writing and the creative side of it. But what's great about him is that, and I know people think that I'm funny, and at least Twitter seems to think so. But like, I really don't approach a lot of, you know, the work in terms of how can I do this comedically. A lot of it is really just like, how can I make this real? How can I make this seem authentic? How can I make this person a real person? And you know, on New Girl, you could sort of improv and you could get around it a lot, and you can find stuff. But on the multicam, there's real specific comedic beats that you have to hit, and a lot of it's joke telling, and sometimes it's physicalized. And Cedric has been really helpful in that regard, because I've told him very early on, please, if you see anything, if there's any way I could be funny or if I could be doing anything, I might just not be seeing it, so just like tell me. And he will just casually, in a very cool way, like, hey man, it'd be funny if you did this. Or like, you do this, you come around, and you like, and then.
Like, gotcha. Okay.
And I was like, oh my God. And then every time I go, I should have thought of that because that was really obvious. But he's been really great, because to me, like with these, especially with the multicams, is you see a tendency sometimes, and I don't really know why, but for actors to really be broad and big and sort of, and I love that, and that's some of my favorite kind of acting. But if it's not called for and it's just in like a normal conversational scene, you're thinking like, well, why are we doing it that way?
Right.
So to me, it's like if we can sort of make this, you know, because there's the laugh and everything else, and you know you're not watching real life. If we can fool you into thinking, you know, these are just two people having a conversation where there's a laugh, where there's people laughing and all this other stuff, and make it as real and organic as possible, then the jokes and stuff will really pay off later.
Yeah, and I think the storyline kind of plays in that too. It's like people moving into a new neighborhood. People deal with their neighbors all the time.
Totally.
And I think that's one of the big reasons why this connects. So what's it been like for you guys to just unpack gentrification and just dealing with people you don't necessarily want to deal with? Yeah,
I think it was really interesting. I think there was like, you know, obviously gentrification, and I think like some of the racial stuff was a real conversation piece in the beginning of the show, and it was like, well, how much are we going to address this? Like, how many episodes are we going to do where it's like we talk about it?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And I think we've interestingly enough sort of shied away from it, but I think in like a really positive way, where the chemistry has been so good with the character, with the actors, and the writing has been so good, and everything has just organically felt so connected that it doesn't feel like we need to make a point on the show as much as the show just existing and being out there, and exactly what you said, which is like these two people that are just sort of sharing a fence, who come from two totally different backgrounds, are just, you know, now coexisting in this neighborhood. And it's been, and I think that to me at least, I think in the long run is more impactful than, you know, the very special episode of The Neighborhood.
And that's the beauty of having season 2 also, where it's like season 1 you have to set all this up. Season 2 you have more free reign now to just focus on the story as opposed to all the other stuff going on around.
Yeah, it's been great.
That's awesome. So thinking about your career, like when you think about New Girl compared to TV now, like what are some of the big differences in your mind, just on the landscape of how it's all shifted?
Well, I mean, I think about this a lot just because, you know, when we started New Girl.
Because what year was that when you guys started?
2011, I think.
Right, and that's like network stuff is still the big stuff.
The face of television has changed. I mean, that was like just the beginning of Netflix.
Right, and people had no idea what that was.
Yeah, it was like they were I feel like they were transitioning just from like the envelopes you got in the mail to like
you get your 2 DVDs.
There's a website.
You're like, oh, okay, cool.
So, just the transition has been so fast, and the change has been so rapid over really the span of time from when we started New Girl to when we got off it. It was really scary when we got off it, because it was like, well, I don't even know what business I'm in anymore. And it's still, it's hard to say how it's changed because it's still changing. And I still think we're very much in the middle of it. And we're very much along for the ride right now. But I do like the fact that, you know, with the abundance of content out there, it sort of felt like, you know, you come off a New Girl and I think there was a feeling of like, do you go and try to like do one of these sort of offbeat cable comedies, which was certainly available, but you looked around and you went, well, there's a lot of people attempting those. There isn't a lot of people doing, you know, these traditional multicams, which is what I grew up on.
Right.
And then this one sort of showed itself, and I sort of backed into it in a very interesting way. But when I watched the pilot of this, I went, oh, this is exactly what I want to do. And this doesn't exist. And the market for this is almost non-existent. And like, yeah, this feels like, in an interesting way, has the opportunity to stand out more so than, you know, the really like more indie or like
off the beaten path type show.
Yeah, where you're like, I don't know exactly how to articulate it but that type of cable.
Right, and that show could have had its niche audience, but like this is just like a much bigger platform.
Yeah,
like,
which is exciting to me.
I think so. Even the way people engage with it, like they watch it live, they're tweeting at you, they watch on CBS All Access. Like I'm sure it's really interesting how people find the show and then reach out to you.
But I also think it's, you know, people still have their TVs.
Yeah, we can't forget, like, as much as we want to talk about people not having cable,
I mean, I live in
millions of people still have cable.
I live in LA and you live in New York, and I think in those two places, you know, it's like, what'd you see on Hulu? And then you're like, oh my God, I haven't turned on my television. I don't even know.
But like people middle of the country
for the most
still
part,
have cable.
Everybody still has a TV,
exactly.
and they're like, what's on CBS tonight? Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's America's most watched network for a reason. Right?
Yeah, totally. So I think like to forget about that is irresponsible.
Yeah, I feel you. Why don't we talk basketball, because you love hoops and you're an LA guy now, and obviously Kobe Bryant's loss was massive, and we were talking off camera.
Yeah.
Explain to me just how important he was to Los Angeles as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about a little bit about this, and I don't claim to be like the biggest Kobe Bryant fan, and I certainly at the time was not really like a huge basketball guy either. But I remember moving out to Los Angeles, you know, like, I think I got out there 2 years after he went to the list. So he was 96.
96 is when he was
his rookie year.
Yeah.
So I got out in like 98, 99. And so I was there for the bulk of his run. And the love that this guy had in Los Angeles was unlike anything I've ever seen. And we talked about this. I think the best example of it was when LeBron was like, I'm coming to Los Angeles. Kobe was not playing basketball.
It had been a few years since he'd been playing basketball.
And everyone in Los Angeles, I'd say the majority of the fans, fully rejected the idea of the greatest player of the game going, hey, I'm going to come play for you guys. And they were like, no.
Insane.
This is Kobe's team. And from an outside perspective, somebody who really had no, you know, stake in it, I was just like, guys, Kobe's not playing. It's
LeBron James.
I don't know he's the best player. What? And they were like, no, we don't want him. And then he got there, and it really, especially with like that first season was a little shaky, and the whole time they were like, we told you, nope, not for us. And you really watched look at this, especially and in Los Angeles too, which is, you know, you'd think would be the perfect place for somebody like LeBron to come and be embraced. He was fully rejected, and only because this is Kobe's town. And I think it took Kobe coming out and publicly saying to everybody, like, guys, this is a good thing. He's very good at basketball.
I think that was a big key, like even showing up at the games, dapping up LeBron, and then the fact that he passes Kobe the night before he passes too.
It just was wild. It's been a really wild week. And the vibe in Los Angeles, I've never felt it like this before, where it's quiet.
Right.
And it stayed quiet. It wasn't just like, oh, the next day is like somber mood. I mean, I left the other day on Wednesday, and it was still really quiet. People just sort of like don't know what to do.
Because it wasn't just basketball, too. It was that he was in the fabric of the culture in Los Angeles. It was what he was doing with Granity Studios and writing and all the stuff for kids.
And
like, there was just so much more than
hoops.
hoops.
Shocking loss.
Yeah.
And I think it really just like it really took people back, and it'll be interesting to see what this mourning process is going to be for the city and how that's going to play out.
And especially, too, with LA as the epicenter of hoops this year with the Clippers and the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers are having an amazing season on top of all this.
I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how the whole thing plays out and how I mean, everybody's reacted so beautifully so far to it. The All-Star game is soon, and you know, it'll be really. I mean, they're going to honor him in a really like beautiful way, and it's going to be. I hate to say you're excited to see it, but you're just sort of like. It is nice to. It's a lot of love, and it's going to be nice to see that.
Yeah, there's a lot of mourning, but now the celebration of an incredible life and an amazing basketball career, like watching the old Kobe and Shaq Lakers and thinking about the three-peat and watching him win with Gasol and Artest and Odom, like those were amazing runs that he had.
Yeah, and you're getting to see like these guys, all these guys from all these different generations of basketball open up and talk about their relationship to him and his relationship to basketball, and it's been a really, really interesting time.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's ever transcended generations where it's like Russell and West and Bird talking about him, and then it's like LeBron and Kyrie and Carmelo. Like, he really was right in the middle there. And then, of course, Jordan is like his big brother in the league, too.
Yeah, and he also sort of, he was the guy who came up through social media and the explosion of the internet and all of this, and the exposure that he got. He was sort of, you know, in the middle of it all, and probably like one of the first guys to really go through that.
Yeah.
So in a way, like he was really just one. I mean, he was like one of the biggest names and faces of the NBA. Like, I know there's all this talk about changing the logo to him, which I don't know that they're going to do or not.
Right. But even the fact that he's in that conversation.
But like you understand why that is a conversation.
Absolutely.
Though.
The crazy thing is he only won one MVP. Like, you think about how great he was. Like, there were so many years he could have easily been in that conversation.
Yeah, man.
But a lot of fun to watch for sure. So, bringing it back home to the neighborhood, when people check it out this year, what are some big things you want them to take away?
I just think it continues to be so much fun. It's not one of those shows where you're like, well, this storyline is happening. It's like, you know, this is a very consistent show, which is what I love so much about most old school multicams. Is just like you tune in each week, you know what you're getting, and it's a different version of the same thing that we know and we love. But I do think, you know, as you continue to watch the relationships, you start to become way more comfortable with the relationships and know them. And you know, there's an episode where we go to I take Calvin to a hockey game, and it's his first hockey game, so he's like discovering hockey for the first time. He's like, this ain't bad.
I love the new experiences you guys have. It's like church, barbershop, hockey,
totally.
like all the different
church
things.
episode, which was pretty great. There's a fun part of my favorite part of the hockey episode is that Cedric's character feels like he's gone too far down into my character's like world, and it was like hockey and then a Pink Floyd laser show, and he was just like, wait a minute, and he got caught up, and he got he backpedaled in a major way and decided to double down on his own experience, and he was like, he contacts his old dance crew, and he's like, no, I'm not going to that Pink Floyd thing, I'm going dancing tonight, and it's fun stuff like that where you go, there's like an episode coming up where It's been so much fun.
That's awesome. Looking forward to it. Really nice to meet you, Max.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks so much. Check out This Guy Mondays on CBS. For Max, I'm DJ. See you next time. Or on The Sit Down.